The red star burned outside the window like a dying ember. Corporal Day One walked through the empty corridors of the Crimson Horizon station, his boots making soft sounds on the metal floor. It was his fourth night patrol this week, and he hated every minute of it. The station felt wrong lately. Too quiet, too many locked doors. He stopped at a corner and checked his datapad. Everything showed green. All systems normal, but his gut told him something else. After 10 years in the Terran Defense Corps, Day One had learned to trust his instincts more than machines. His radio crackled. Patrol 7, report status. All clear, Control, Day One replied. He kept walking, his hand resting on his sidearm. The weapon felt heavier than usual tonight. The station had been his home for 6 months now. It was supposed to be a simple assignment. Guard the research facility. Make sure nothing got in or out of Sector 7. Nobody told him what was being researched. Nobody told him why Sector 7 needed armed guards at every entrance. Orders were orders, but 3 weeks ago soldiers started disappearing. First it was Private Sung Ho. He went for a routine medical check and never came back. The officers said he was transferred. No goodbye, no warning. Then Specialist Bora vanished during her shift. Same story. Emergency transfer. Classified mission. Day One didn't believe it. Bora would have told someone. She had a family waiting for her back on Earth. Now 5 soldiers were gone. 5 people who just disappeared into the night. Day One reached the intersection near Sector 7. The big metal doors loomed ahead, covered in yellow and black hazard markers. Warning, authorized personnel only. Biological research in progress. He had passed these doors 100 times. He had never been inside. His datapad beeped. A new message. The encryption was military grade, but the sender was unknown. Day One frowned and opened it. The message was short. They are taking your blood. Check Sector 7, Cell Block C, your people are dying. His heart started beating faster. This had to be a trap or a test. Maybe Command was checking his loyalty. He should report this immediately. Delete the message. Keep walking, but what if it was true? Day One looked at the sealed doors of Sector 7. He thought about Sung Ho, who loved bad jokes and missed his daughter. He thought about Bora, who wanted to be a pilot someday. He thought about the 3 others whose names were already fading from the duty roster. He made his decision. Day One pulled out his security bypass tool. It was illegal to own, and he could be court-martialed just for having it. He plugged it into the door's control panel. The screen flickered. Code started running. His hands were steady, but his mind was racing. If he was wrong about this, his career was over. If he was right, something much worse was happening. The lock clicked. The door slid open with a hiss of pressurized air. Day One drew his weapon and stepped inside. The doors closed behind him with a heavy thud that sounded too final. Emergency lights cast everything in red shadows. The air smelled different here, sweet and metallic like old copper. He moved forward carefully. The corridor was empty, but it felt watched. The walls were different from the rest of the station. Darker. Older somehow, even though that made no sense. Strange symbols were carved into the metal, flowing and elegant. Not human writing. His radio crackled with static. Patrol 7, respond. Your tracker shows you entered a restricted zone. Day One switched off his radio. No turning back now. He followed the corridor deeper into Sector 7. The path twisted and turned like it was designed to confuse intruders. Every intersection looked the same. But Day One had a good memory for layouts. He marked his path mentally, counting doors and turns. After 10 minutes of walking, he found the first evidence that something was terribly wrong. A medical cart sat abandoned in the hallway. Blood bags hung from IV stands, but the bags were empty, used. The label on one bag made Day One's blood run cold. It read Sung Ho. Type O negative. Processed. Processed. Like he was food. Day One's grip tightened on his weapon. He kept moving faster now. The corridor opened into a larger space. A chamber with high ceilings and strange architecture. It looked like a cathedral, but built by someone who had never seen Earth. Pillars rose up into darkness. The walls curved in impossible angles, and then he saw the cells. They lined both sides of the chamber. Glass walls showed small rooms with medical beds, and on those beds humans lay unconscious, tubes connected to their arms. Machines beeped quietly. Day One ran to the nearest cell. Inside was Bora. Her skin was pale, too pale. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. But she was breathing. Bora. He slammed his hand on the glass. She didn't move. Daewon checked the other cells. All 5 missing soldiers were here. All alive, but barely. All being drained slowly. His anger burned hot and bright. Who was doing this? Why? A sound made him spin around, weapon raised. Something moved in the shadows between the pillars. Not a machine. Not a human. Something else. You should not have come here, soldier. The voice was soft and came from everywhere at once. A figure stepped into the red light. She was tall and moved with impossible grace. Her skin was pale like milk. Her eyes reflected light like a cat's. She wore robes that seemed to flow even when she stood still. But it was her smile that made Daewon's finger tighten on the trigger. She had fangs, small but sharp and very real. My name is Hana, she said calmly, and you have made a terrible mistake. Or perhaps a very brave choice. Time will tell which. She tilted her head, studying him like a curious bird. No human has ever made it this far before. The Queen will want to meet you. Queen? Daewon kept his weapon trained on her center mass. What did you do to my people? I did nothing, Hana replied. But I serve the one who needs them to survive. Come. She has been waiting for someone like you. Someone with questions. She turned and began walking deeper into the chamber. You may bring your weapon. It will not help you. But humans always feel safer with their little guns. Daewon had 2 choices. Shoot this creature and try to free his people alone, or follow her and maybe get answers. Maybe find out who was responsible. Maybe find a way to stop this. He followed. The shadows seemed to move around them as they walked. The chamber grew larger and colder, and somewhere ahead in the deepest part of Sector 7, something ancient waited on a throne. The corridor stretched longer than it should. Daewon had memorized the station blueprints during his first week, and Sector 7 was supposed to be only 50 meters deep. They had been walking for 5 minutes, and there was still no end in sight. The architecture made no sense. The walls curved and bent in ways that hurt his eyes when he looked too closely. Hana walked ahead of him without making a sound. Her feet barely touched the ground. Daewon kept his weapon ready, but she seemed completely unconcerned about the gun pointed at her back. That worried him more than anything. Where are you taking me? He demanded. To the one who makes the decisions, Hana said without turning around. The one who holds the power of life and death in this place. She paused at a massive door carved with more of those flowing symbols. The Queen of the Velithrin, the last daughter of a dying race. The doors opened without anyone touching them. Beyond was a throne room that should not exist. It was huge. Easily the size of a stadium, with a ceiling that disappeared into darkness. Pillars of black stone rose like ancient trees. The floor was polished so smooth that it reflected everything like dark water. And at the far end, sitting perfectly still on a throne of twisted metal and crystal, was her, the Vampire Queen. Daewon had seen many aliens during his service. The Terran Defense Corps had made contact with 17 different species. He had fought beside some and against others. But none of them had prepared him for this. She looked almost human. Almost. Her face was beautiful in a way that was wrong, like a painting that was too perfect. Her skin was so pale it seemed to glow. Her hair was long and black, flowing down her shoulders like liquid shadow. She wore robes of deep red that moved even though there was no wind. And her eyes. Her eyes were the color of old blood, and they looked at him with an intelligence that was thousands of years old. Kneel, Hana whispered. Not happening, Daewon replied. He raised his weapon. I want answers. What are you doing to my people? The Queen smiled. She didn't move from her throne, but suddenly she was there, standing right in front of him. Daewon hadn't seen her move. One moment she was far away. The next she was close enough to touch. He tried to step back, but his body wouldn't obey. Her presence was like gravity holding him in place. You have courage, she said. Her voice was soft, but it filled the entire chamber. That is good. I respect courage. She reached out slowly and pushed his gun down with one finger. But you cannot hurt me with that, soldier. My name is Yura. I am the last queen of the Velithrin Empire, and I am both your enemy and your only hope. Daewon forced himself to speak. You're killing my people. Taking their blood. That makes you just a monster. Monster? Yura repeated the word like she was tasting it. Perhaps. But monsters are made, not born. She turned and walked back toward her throne, her movements flowing like water. Tell me, brave soldier, what do you know of the Velithrin? Nothing. You're not in our databases. Because we are not from your corner of the galaxy. We come from the dark beyond, from systems your people have never reached. She sat on her throne, her red eyes never leaving his face. We were an empire once. Millions of worlds. Billions of souls. We lived for thousands of your years, building wonders that would make your species weep. What happened? Despite himself, Day One was listening. A plague. Her voice went cold. A sickness that spread through our worlds like fire. It killed 99% of my people in less than a century. We tried everything. Science, medicine, prayer, nothing worked. She leaned forward. Only a few thousand of us survived. We fled into space searching for a cure, and we found something interesting. Hana stepped beside the throne. We found that certain species have enzymes in their blood. Enzymes that slow the plague. That let us live. Daewon felt sick. You're vampires. Actual vampires. We are survivors, Yura corrected. And yes, we need blood. Specifically, we need human blood. Your species produces the enzyme we need in quantities higher than any other race we have found. She stood again and descended the steps from her throne. When we discovered your research station, we thought we had found salvation. So you just started taking people? Daewon's anger returned. Draining them? No, Yura's eyes flashed. We made a deal. With your commander Taemin, we would share our technology, our knowledge, our weapons. In exchange, he would provide voluntary donors, humans who understood the situation and chose to help. Her hands clenched into fists. But your commander is greedy and stupid. He decided to take more than was agreed. To sell our technology to the highest bidder and take your soldiers by force. He is making himself rich while breaking our agreement. Day One processed this information. You're saying Taemin is behind this? He's kidnapping soldiers and selling you their blood? Not selling, Hana said quietly. Taking without consent, without care for their lives. He takes too much too fast. Your people are dying because of his greed, not our need. The Queen moved closer to Daewon again. I wanted volunteers. I wanted cooperation. I wanted peace. But your commander wants profit. She stopped an arm's length away. And now you are here. A soldier who broke every rule to find the truth. A human who values his people more than his career. What do you want from me? Daewon asked. Help me, Yura said simply. Help me stop Taemin. Help me expose what he has done. Help me save both of our species. She extended her hand toward him. Work with me, and I swear on the graves of my people that I will free your soldiers. I will give them back their lives, and I will make sure no human is ever taken against their will again. Daewon stared at her hand. Everything in his training told him this was a trick. You don't negotiate with monsters. You don't trust aliens who drink blood. But he thought about Sung-Ho and Bo-Ra and the others lying in those cells. He thought about how many more might disappear if Taemin continued his operation. How do I know you're telling the truth? He asked. You don't, Yura admitted. But look into my eyes, human. See if you find lies there. Daewon looked. Her red eyes were ancient and tired and sad. He saw pain there, loss, desperation. But he also saw something else. Honor. Pride. A queen trying to save her people the right way. He lowered his weapon completely. If you're lying to me, I'll find a way to kill you. I don't care if you're fast or strong or immortal. I'll find a way. Yura smiled, and this time it seemed genuine. I would expect nothing less. That is why I respect humans. You are small and weak, and you live such short lives. But you never give up. You always fight. Even when fighting is suicide. She pulled her hand back. You are fascinating creatures. An alarm suddenly blared throughout the chamber. Red lights flashed. Hana's expression changed to concern. The station's security system has been activated, she said. They know you are here. Daewon's radio, even though it was switched off, crackled to life. Taemin's voice came through cold and clear. Attention all units. Corporal Daewon has gone rogue. He has breached Sector 7 and compromised classified research. All security personnel are authorized to use lethal force. Find him, kill him. Leave no evidence, Yura looked at Daewon. It seems your commander has made his choice. He will kill us both to protect his secrets. Then we better move fast, Daewon said, checking his weapon. Because I'm not dying in this place. The Queen smiled and her fangs caught the light. Good, I like your spirit, human. Now let me show you what my people can really do when we fight. The doors to the throne room exploded inward. Armed soldiers poured through, their weapons raised. The battle for Sector 7 had begun. The security team came through the doors like a storm. 12 soldiers in full combat armor, carrying automatic rifles with armor-piercing rounds. They spread out in a tactical formation that Daewon recognized immediately. These were not station guards. These were mercenaries. "Professional killers, target acquired," the lead soldier shouted. "Open fire." Daewon dove behind one of the black stone pillars as bullets tore through the air where he had been standing. The sound was deafening in the enclosed space. Stone chips exploded around him. He returned fire, his shots precise despite the chaos. 2 mercenaries went down, but the others kept advancing. Then Yura moved. 1 second she was standing beside her throne. The next she was among the soldiers like a shadow made flesh. Her hand struck the nearest mercenary's chest and he flew backward 20 feet, his armor crumpling like paper. She spun impossibly fast and another soldier fell with his weapon torn in half. "Fall back," someone screamed. "Fall back." But there was nowhere to go. Hana had moved too, appearing behind the retreating soldiers. Her fingers glowed with strange blue energy. She touched one mercenary, and electricity arced through his body. He collapsed, twitching. The fight lasted less than 30 seconds. When it was over, 12 soldiers lay on the ground. Some were unconscious. Some were dead. Daewon had seen combat before, but nothing like this. The Velithran were not just strong. They were weapons themselves. Yura stood in the center of the carnage, not even breathing hard. Her red eyes found Daewon. "Are you injured?" "I'm fine," he managed to say. His hands were shaking slightly from the adrenaline. "That was fast." "We do not have time for slow," Yura replied. She looked at Hana. "How many more will come?" "Taemin has at least 50 mercenaries on the station," Hana said. "Plus automated defense systems. And he can seal all the doors, trap us here, and vent the atmosphere." Daewon thought quickly. "The prisoners. We need to get them out first. Where exactly are they being held?" "Cell Block C is 3 levels down," Yura said. "But the route is heavily guarded now." "Then we fight our way through," Daewon said. "Give me one of those rifles." He grabbed a weapon from a fallen mercenary and checked the ammunition. "Full magazine. I didn't come here to run away. I came here to save my people." Yura studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Very well. We will fight together, but you must follow my lead. This is my territory and I know every passage, every secret way." She turned to Hana. "Prepare the emergency protocols. If we fail, destroy all evidence. The technology cannot fall into Taemin's hands." "Understood, my queen," Hana said softly. They moved through Sector 7 like ghosts. Yura led them through passages that did not appear on any map. Hidden doors opened at her touch. They descended through levels that seemed to exist between the official floors of the station. The architecture was all Velithran here, ancient and elegant and completely alien. They encountered 3 more security teams on the way down. Each time, Daewon provided covering fire while Yura and Hana struck from unexpected angles. He began to understand their tactics. The Velithran were ambush predators. They used speed and surprise, hitting hard and fast before their enemies could react. But Daewon noticed something else too. Yura always checked the fallen soldiers. If they were still alive, she moved on. If they were dead, a shadow crossed her face. She did not enjoy killing. That meant something. They reached Cell Block C through a maintenance shaft. The room was larger than Daewon had seen from the main entrance. Rows of glass cells stretched into the distance. And in each cell, a human lay connected to machines. Not just 5 prisoners, dozens, maybe 100. "Sweet light," Daewon whispered. "How long has this been going on?" 6 months, Yura said quietly. "Since the day Taemin made his first shipment. He has been taking soldiers, researchers, even civilian workers. Anyone who would not be missed immediately." Her voice was filled with anger. "I found out only 2 weeks ago. By then, so many were already here." Daewon felt rage building inside him. "You should have stopped him. I tried." Yura turned on him, her eyes blazing. "I went to your superiors. I sent messages to Earth Command. I even contacted your military intelligence. But Taemin intercepted everything. He has friends in high places. Friends who profit from selling Velithran technology to weapons manufacturers." She pointed at the cells. "I could not free them alone without starting a war between our species. A war that would kill millions. So I waited. I planned. I searched for one honest human who would help me. And you found me, Day One said. I found you, Yura agreed. Now help me finish this. They split up to work faster. Day One ran to the first cell and studied the control panel. It was locked with a security code. He pulled out his bypass tool again and started hacking. The first cell opened with a hiss. Inside was a young woman he recognized. Private Misun from engineering. She was pale and thin but alive. Misun. He disconnected the tubes carefully. Can you hear me? Her eyes fluttered open. Day One. Her voice was weak. What's happening? I'm getting you out, he said. Can you walk? I think so. She tried to sit up and nearly fell. Day One caught her. Behind them, Yura was opening cells with just a touch of her hand. Her technology responded to her instantly. Hana moved between the freed prisoners, checking their vitals and helping them stand. Soon the room was filled with confused, weak humans blinking in the light. One of them stumbled toward Day One. It was Jiwoo, his old friend from basic training. They had served together for 8 years. Jiwoo looked like he had aged 20 years in just a few weeks. Brother, Jiwoo said, gripping Day One's shoulder. I thought I was going to die here. Not today, Day One replied. Can you fight? I can barely stand, Jiwoo admitted. But give me a weapon and point me at whoever did this. Alarms started blaring again. The lights turned red. A computerized voice echoed through the station. Warning. Emergency lockdown initiated. All blast doors sealing in 60 seconds. Unauthorized personnel will be terminated. He's trying to trap us. Hana called out. We need to move now. Yura's voice cut through the panic. Everyone who can walk, follow me. Those who cannot, we will carry. She lifted 2 unconscious prisoners as if they weighed nothing. Her strength was inhuman, but in that moment Day One was grateful for it. They ran. Nearly 100 weak, confused humans stumbling through alien corridors while blast doors slammed shut around them. Day One and Jiwoo took the rear guard, watching for pursuit. The mercenaries would come soon. They had to reach the docking bay before then, but their path was blocked. A massive blast door had sealed the main corridor. They were trapped between locked doors with no way forward and enemies closing in from behind. The ventilation system, Day One shouted. It's big enough for people to crawl through. The ducts connect all the major sections. Yura looked at him with surprise. You would trust me to lead your people through the dark? Do we have a choice? Day One shot back. She smiled. No, we do not. She turned to the frightened humans. Listen to me. I know you are afraid. I know you do not trust me. But I swear on the memory of my dead empire that I will get you to safety. Trust me now or die here, choose. The prisoners looked at each other. Then Misun stepped forward. I trust Day One. And he trusts you. That's good enough for me. One by one, the others nodded. Hana tore open a ventilation grate. The dark duct stretched into shadow. It will be tight. And it will be dark. But it will lead us to the docking bay. They climbed in. Yura went first, her eyes glowing in the darkness to light the way. The humans followed, crawling through the narrow metal tunnels. Day One went last, sealing the grate behind them and jamming it so the mercenaries could not follow easily. In the darkness, moving inch by inch toward freedom, Day One realized something. He was trusting an alien vampire queen with his life and the lives of his people. A week ago that would have been insane. But now it felt right. Ahead, Yura's voice echoed back through the duct. Not far now. The docking bay is close. And then we fly away from this cursed place, behind them, footsteps and shouting. The mercenaries had found the vent. They were coming. The race was on. They emerged from the ventilation ducts into a storage room near the docking bay. Nearly 100 freed prisoners collapsed on the floor, gasping for breath. The crawl through the narrow tunnels had exhausted them. Many were injured. All were terrified. Day One did a quick head count. 87 humans. 3 Velithrin, including Yura and Hana, against at least 40 armed mercenaries and a station commander who wanted them all dead. The odds were terrible. Jiwoo limped over to him. The docking bay is just through that door. I can see it on the emergency map. He pointed at a wall panel. But there are security checkpoints, and the bay doors are sealed. We will handle the security, Yura said. She was leaning against a wall and Day One noticed something wrong. Her skin was paler than before. Her movements were slower. The bay doors can be overridden from the control tower. Are you all right? Day One asked. I am fine, Yura replied, but her voice lacked its usual strength. Hana stepped close to Daewon and spoke quietly. She is not fine. My queen has not fed in 3 weeks. She has been using too much energy, fighting, healing, moving all these people. Her silver eyes met his. She is dying, soldier. Without blood, she will collapse within the hour. Daewon felt a chill. What about you? Can you fight? I can manage, Hana said. I am younger, stronger, but the queen is old and old ones need more to survive. She glanced back at Yura. She will not admit weakness. She will fight until she falls. That is who she is. Then we need to move fast, Daewon said, before she collapses. But fate had other plans. The storage room doors exploded inward. Not from breaching charges, from something else. Commander Taemin stood in the doorway wearing a military exosuit. The machine was 10 feet tall, heavily armored and equipped with enough firepower to level a building. His face appeared on the suit's screen, twisted with rage. You have cost me everything, Corporal. Taemin's voice boomed from speakers. Millions in lost profits. Years of careful planning. And for what? To save these worthless traitors? The exosuit's weapons charged with a high-pitched whine. I will kill you all and blame the aliens. Earth will never know the truth. Daewon pushed the prisoners back. Run, get to the ships! There is nowhere to run. Taemin laughed. I have sealed the docking bay. I have sealed all the exits. This is your grave, Corporal. The exosuit opened fire. Minigun rounds tore through the storage room. Crates exploded into splinters. Humans screamed and dove for cover. Daewon returned fire, but his rifle rounds bounced off the suit's armor like raindrops. Then Yura was there, moving between Taemin and the fleeing prisoners. She raised her hands and a shimmering barrier of energy appeared. The bullets hit the barrier and stopped, hanging in the air like frozen rain. Impossible, Taemin shouted. No creature can stop that much firepower. I am not a creature, Yura said through gritted teeth. I am a queen. She pushed forward, and the barrier moved with her, the bullets falling harmlessly. But Daewon could see the effort was costing her. Blood began running from her nose. Her legs trembled. Hana attacked from the side, her hands crackling with blue electricity. She struck the exosuit's leg joint and energy discharged. The suit stumbled but did not fall. Taemin swung the massive arm like a club. It caught Hana and sent her flying into a wall. She hit hard and did not get up. Hana! Yura's concentration broke. The barrier flickered and died. Taemin raised his weapons again. Die, monster! Daewon threw himself forward, firing his rifle at the suit's sensors. It was a desperate move, stupid, suicidal. But it gave Yura time to move. She grabbed 2 of the freed prisoners and threw them toward the door, away from the danger. The exosuit turned on Daewon. He dove behind a support beam as minigun fire chewed through metal. He was pinned down. No way out. This was it. Then Yura was beside him, her speed still impossibly fast despite her weakness. You should not have done that, human. Now I owe you a debt. You don't owe me anything, Daewon said. Just get these people out. No. Yura's red eyes locked onto his. I will not leave you, and I cannot fight anymore without strength. She reached out and touched his face gently. Will you trust me one more time? Daewon understood what she was asking. Will it hurt? Yes, she admitted. But I will be careful. I will take only what I need. Nothing more gunfire. The support beam was being destroyed. Seconds remained. Do it, Daewon said. Yura pulled him close and bit his neck. The pain was instant and sharp, but then something else happened. A strange warmth spread through his body. He felt her presence in his mind, touching his thoughts and memories. She saw his childhood, his training, his fears, his hopes. Every moment of his life flashed before them both, and he saw hers in return. He saw Yura's world before the plague. Beautiful cities made of crystal and light. Billions of Elithran living in peace, creating art and music and science. He saw her as a young princess learning to rule. He saw the plague arrive like a nightmare. The screaming. The death. Worlds burning. Her people dying by the millions while she could do nothing. He saw her flee with the survivors, searching the galaxy for help, finding only closed doors and hostile weapons. He saw her desperation, her loneliness. The weight of being the last queen of a dead empire. He felt her pain, and she felt his. The connection lasted only seconds, but it changed everything. When Yura pulled back, Daewon understood her completely. She was not a monster. She was a survivor, a leader trying to save her people the only way she knew how. Blood dripped from her lips. "Thank you," she whispered, but she was different now. Her skin had color again. Her eyes blazed with power. Her movements were quick and sure. She stood and faced Taemin's exosuit without fear. "You wanted to see a monster, Commander?" Yura's voice echoed with ancient power. "Let me show you what we were before the plague." When the Velithrin hunted stars, she moved so fast Daewon barely saw it. One moment she was beside him. The next she was on top of the exosuit. Her hands glowed with red energy. She tore through the armor plating like paper. Metal shrieked. Sparks flew. Taemin screamed. The exosuit fell to its knees. Yura ripped open the cockpit and pulled Taemin out by his throat. He dangled in her grip like a child's toy. "Please," he begged. "I have money. I can pay you." "I do not want your money," Yura said coldly. "I want justice." She looked at Daewon. "But this is not my decision to make. These are your people he hurt. You decide his fate." Daewon stood slowly, one hand pressed to his neck where she had bitten him. The wound was already closing. Velithrin's saliva had healing properties. He walked up to Taemin and looked him in the eyes. "You sold out your own species for profit," Daewon said quietly. "You kidnapped soldiers. You let them die. You tried to start a war." He took a breath. "You will face trial. Earth Command will know everything, and they will judge you according to military law." "No," Taemin struggled. "They will execute me." "Yes," Daewon agreed. "They probably will." Yura dropped the commander on the ground. Jiwoo and several other recovered soldiers grabbed him, binding his hands with cable. The alarm changed tone. A new voice came over the speakers. Not Taemin this time. Someone else. "Warning. Station self-destruct sequence initiated. T-minus 20 minutes. All personnel evacuate immediately." "He set it to explode?" Misun shouted. "That coward!" Daewon grabbed his radio. "Then we better run. Everyone to the docking bay, now!" They ran through the last checkpoint. Yura and the recovered soldiers carried those too weak to walk. The docking bay stretched before them, filled with escape shuttles and supply ships. They started loading people as fast as possible. Jiwoo took the pilot seat of the largest shuttle. "I can fly this!" "Get everyone on board." 15 minutes remaining. People crowded into the ships. Some were crying. Some were laughing with relief. Daewon did a final count. Everyone was accounted for. Almost everyone. "Where is Hana?" he asked. Yura's face went pale. "She went back for the data cores. The evidence against Taemin. She said she would meet us here. 10 minutes remaining." "She is not going to make it," Yura whispered. But then a figure appeared in the docking bay entrance, running at full speed. Hana carrying a bag of data storage devices. She leaped through the air and landed inside the shuttle just as the doors were closing. "I have everything," she gasped. "Every file. Every transaction. Every crime. 5 minutes remaining, go." Daewon shouted. "Launch now!" The shuttles lifted off together, racing toward space as the station began tearing itself apart behind them. The shuttle shook violently as it cleared the docking bay. Behind them, Crimson Horizon Station began exploding section by section. Fire bloomed in the void like deadly flowers. Debris shot past their windows, some pieces barely missing their hull. Jiwoo gripped the controls with white knuckles. "Hold on, this is going to be rough!" The shuttle lurched sideways, avoiding a massive chunk of twisted metal. Daewon was thrown against his seat harness. Around him, the freed prisoners cried out in fear. Some were praying. Others just held on to each other. Yura stood in the center of the passenger compartment, perfectly balanced despite the chaos. Her eyes were fixed on the dying station. "So much knowledge," she said quietly. "Centuries of Velithrin history, all burning." "Better than letting Taemin profit from it," Hana replied. She was injured from her earlier fight, but she refused to sit down. Her loyalty to Yura was absolute. Another explosion rocked the shuttle. Alarms blared. A red light flashed on the control panel. "We have a problem," Jiwoo shouted. "Hull breach in the cargo section. Pressure dropping fast." Daewon unbuckled and moved toward the back. "I'll seal it." "There is no time." Yura was suddenly beside him, moving with that impossible speed. "The breach is too large, and we are venting atmosphere." She pushed past him into the cargo bay. Through the open door, Daewon saw the problem. A piece of shrapnel had torn through the hull. A hole the size of his fist. Air was screaming out into space. At this rate, they would lose cabin pressure in minutes. Yura pressed her hands against the breach. Her body began to glow with red energy. The metal around the hole started flowing like liquid, sealing itself, but the effort was enormous. Blood ran from her nose again. Her legs buckled. No. Day-One caught her before she fell. You are too weak. Almost done, Yura gasped. The metal continued flowing, slowly closing the gap. Just a few more seconds. The hole sealed completely. The air stopped escaping. But Yura collapsed in Day-One's arms, unconscious. Her skin was cold as ice. Her breathing was barely there. Hana. Day-One carried the queen back into the passenger compartment. Something is wrong with her. Hana rushed over, her face showing real fear for the first time. She touched Yura's face, checking her pulse. She used too much power. Her body is shutting down. She looked at Day-One desperately. She needs blood, now, or she will die. Mi-sun stepped forward. Take mine. And mine, said another soldier. Mine too, said Jiwoo from the pilot seat. One by one, the freed prisoners volunteered. These people who had been kidnapped and drained against their will. These people who had every reason to hate the Velithrin. They were willing to give their blood to save the queen who had saved them. Day-One felt something catch in his throat. This was humanity at its best. This was why he wore the uniform. Hana worked quickly, using Velithrin medical technology to safely extract small amounts from multiple volunteers. Not enough to hurt anyone, just enough to share the burden, just enough to save a life. Yura's eyes flickered open an hour later. They were in deep space now, drifting while they made repairs. She looked around at the humans watching her with concern. You saved me, she said, confused. Why, I am your enemy. No, Mi-sun said firmly. You are the one who freed us. The one who fought beside us. That makes you a friend. Yura's eyes filled with something Day-One had never expected to see. Tears. Thank you, she whispered. All of you. Thank you. The shuttle's communication system suddenly crackled to life. A new voice filled the cabin. Official military code. Unidentified shuttle, this is the TDF Aegis. You have entered Earth Defense Fleet space. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will be met with deadly force. Through the window, a massive battlecruiser appeared. The Aegis was one of Earth's most powerful warships. Its weapons were already tracking their small shuttle. This is Corporal Day-One of the Terran Defense Corps. He spoke into the radio. We are survivors from Crimson Horizon Station. We have refugees on board and critical intelligence about treason in the command structure. A pause. Then another voice responded. This one was familiar. Admiral Kyung-soo, the fleet commander. Day-One had met him once at a military ceremony. Corporal Day-One. We received automated distress signals from Crimson Horizon before it was destroyed. Commander Taemin is listed as killed in action. Can you confirm? Negative, sir. Taemin is alive and in custody. He is responsible for the station's destruction and for crimes against both humanity and an allied species. Allied species? The Admiral's voice hardened. Explain. Before Day-One could answer, another ship appeared on their sensors. This one was not human. It was massive, easily 3 times the size of the Aegis. Its hull was black as night, covered in those flowing Velithrin symbols. Weapons ports glowed with red energy. Unknown vessel, this is the Aegis. Identify yourself. A new voice came over the radio. Female. Ancient. Powerful. I am Crown Princess Ara of the Velithrin Royal Fleet. The shuttle you are threatening carries my queen. Stand down your weapons. Humans, or I will consider this an act of war. Day-One looked at Yura in shock. You have a sister? I have 3 sisters, Yura replied weakly. Ara is the eldest, and the most dangerous. She touched the radio. Ara, stand down. These humans are not our enemies. They point guns at you, Yura. That makes them enemies. I point guns at them too, Yura said. Should they consider me an enemy? Silence on both ships. Then Ara spoke again, calmer this time. What are your orders, my queen? Yura looked at Day-One. What happens now is up to the humans. Will you talk, or will you fight? Admiral Kyung-soo's voice returned. We have protocols for first contact situations. This is not exactly standard, but nothing about this situation is standard. A heavy sigh. Both ships will hold position. The shuttle will dock with the Aegis. We will hear your story, Corporal, and we will decide what to do with the aliens. They are not just aliens, Day-One said firmly. They are people. They saved nearly 100 human lives today. They deserve respect. Another pause. Very well. Permission to dock is granted, but the alien queen will be under guard at all times. Agreed, Yura said. I have nothing to hide. The shuttle approached the Aegis slowly. Marines waited in the docking bay, weapons ready. But Day-1 noticed something. They were not pointing their guns, just holding them, ready but not hostile. That was good. The shuttle landed gently. The door opened. Day-1 stepped out first, followed by Jiwoo and Misun. The freed prisoners came next, many still weak and injured. The Marines' eyes widened as they saw the condition of the rescued soldiers. Then Yura emerged. She walked with her head high, moving like the queen she was. Hana followed at her side. The Marines stared. Some looked afraid. Some looked curious. None looked hostile. Admiral Kyung-soo stood at the back of the bay. He was an old soldier with gray hair and sharp eyes that had seen much war. He studied Yura carefully. So, he said, "You are the vampire queen." "I am Yura, last queen of the Velithran Empire," she replied. "And you are the human who decides if we talk or fight." "I am." The admiral gestured toward a corridor. "Come, we have much to discuss, and I want to hear everything that happened on Crimson Horizon. Every detail." They walked through the battle cruiser surrounded by guards. Soldiers stopped and stared as they passed. Word was spreading fast. An alien queen on board, prisoners rescued, a traitor in custody. This would be the talk of the fleet for years. The conference room was large and sterile. Human on one side of the table, Velithran on the other. Day-1 sat between them, feeling like a bridge connecting two worlds. Hana placed the data cores on the table. Everything is here. Financial records, communication logs, video evidence, proof of Commander Taemin's crimes against both our species. The admiral's staff began reviewing the data. As they read, their faces grew darker. Anger, disgust, shame. One officer stood abruptly and left the room. Day-1 heard him being sick in the hallway. "This is worse than we thought," the admiral said quietly. Taemin was not working alone. He had contacts in military procurement, in intelligence, in government. He looked at Yura. "And you knew about this?" "I discovered it 2 weeks ago," Yura replied. "I tried to report it through official channels. Every message was intercepted. Every attempt to contact your government was blocked." She leaned forward. "So I waited. I searched for one honest human. One person who cared more about justice than profit. I found Corporal Day-1." All eyes turned to Day-1. He felt his face grow warm. "I just did what was right, sir. You broke into a restricted area. You disobeyed direct orders. You collaborated with an unknown alien species." The admiral's expression was hard to read. "You should be court-martialed." Day-1's heart sank. "Yes, sir. But you also saved nearly 100 lives. You exposed a massive conspiracy. And you prevented a war between humanity and a potentially powerful ally." The admiral stood. "I am recommending you for a medal, Corporal. And a promotion." Day-1 blinked in surprise. "Sir, we need soldiers who think, who question, who do what is right even when orders say otherwise." The admiral turned to Yura. "And we need allies. Real allies, not the ones we buy or conquer. The kind we earn through mutual respect." Yura inclined her head. "You speak wisdom, Admiral. Perhaps there is hope for peace between our kinds." The radio crackled again. Princess Ara's voice came through, urgent now. "Admiral Kyung-soo, we are detecting massive energy signatures approaching your posity." The conference room erupted in chaos. Officers shouted into radios. Alarms blared throughout the Aegis. Red lights flashed warnings. Admiral Kyung-soo moved to a tactical display showing hundreds of hostile contacts appearing on sensors. "All ships to battle stations," he commanded. "Raise shields and charge weapons." "This is not a drill." Outside the windows, the nullifier fleet materialized from nothing. Their ships were wrong. That was the only word for them. They looked like someone had taken geometric shapes and twisted them into configurations that hurt to look at. Black metal that absorbed light. No windows. No identifying marks. Just weapons. Thousands of weapons. Yura stood frozen, staring at the enemy ships. "They found me. After all this time, they found me." Her voice was small, fragile. For the first time, she looked afraid. Princess Ara's warship moved into position beside the Aegis. "Yura, we must run. If they capture you, they will study you, learn our weaknesses, and hunt down the rest of our people. There are humans here," Yura said into the radio. I will not abandon them. Then we fight together, Admiral Kyung-soo said. He looked at Yura. Tell me everything about these nullifiers. How do we hurt them? Yura snapped back to focus. The fear left her eyes, replaced by cold calculation. They are machines. Ancient AI from a dead civilization. They believe organic life is a disease that must be eliminated. They have no emotions, no mercy, no weakness except one, which is, Daewon asked. They are predictable. Machines follow patterns. They use mathematical calculations to determine tactics. But they do not understand illogical thinking. They do not understand sacrifice or courage or hope. Those are organic traits. Yura's eyes met the Admiral's. You must fight them in ways they cannot predict. Be chaos, be unpredictable, be human. The nullifier ships opened fire. Beams of white energy lanced across space. The Aegis's shields flared as they absorbed the hits. Return fire from both human and Velithran ships struck the enemy. But their armor was incredibly strong. We cannot win this fight. Ara's voice was strained. There are too many. Retreat is not an option, Admiral Kyung-soo replied. Behind us is Earth. If we run, they follow us home. He turned to his communications officer. Send a priority distress call to Fleet Command. Tell them we have made contact with a hostile machine intelligence. Tell them to prepare all defenses. Sir, they are launching fighters. A young officer pointed at the display. Thousands of smaller craft were pouring from the nullifier ships like angry wasps. Daewon watched the battle unfold on the screens. The human and Velithran ships were fighting well, but they were outnumbered 20-1. Explosions bloomed in space. Ships on both sides were dying. This was not a fight. This was an execution. We need to evacuate, Jiwoo said. He had followed them to the conference room, still weak but refusing to stay in medical. Get the Queen to safety. Preserve what remains of her species. No. Yura's voice cut through the noise like a knife. No more running. I have been running for 300 years. Running while my people died. Running while worlds burned. I am tired of running. She turned to Admiral Kyung-soo. Give me command of one squadron. Let me show you how the Velithran fought when we were an empire. The Admiral studied her for a long moment. You are not part of my chain of command. Then make me part of it. Make this alliance official. Right here. Right now. Join our fleets and fight as one species against the machines that want to kill us both. That decision requires approval from Earth government. Treaties, negotiations, months of diplomacy. You do not have months, Yura said. You have minutes. Choose. Outside, another human ship exploded. The nullifiers were advancing steadily, their tactics precise and mechanical. Efficient. Deadly. Admiral Kyung-soo made his decision. Yura, last queen of the Velithran, I hereby grant you the rank of honorary commander in the Terran Defense Fleet. You will lead Squadron 7. Don't make me regret this. Yura smiled, and for the first time it reached her eyes. I will not. She touched her communication device. Ara, you are now part of human command structure. Follow my orders. Have you lost your mind? Ara shouted back, probably. Now be silent and fight. Yura turned to Daewon. You are coming with me. I need someone who understands both human and Velithran tactics. I'm not a pilot, Daewon protested. You do not need to fly. You need to think. She grabbed his arm. Come, we have a battle to win. They ran through the corridors of the Aegis to the fighter bay. Velithran craft had already docked. Sleek black ships that looked like predatory birds. Yura climbed into the largest one, pulling Daewon in behind her. The cockpit was cramped, designed for Velithran physiology, but he squeezed in. The fighter launched into space, and suddenly they were in the middle of chaos. Explosions everywhere, laser fire cutting through the dark. Ships spinning and dying. The noise was overwhelming even through the cockpit. But Yura flew like she was dancing. Her hands moved across the controls with practiced grace. The fighter twisted and dove, avoiding enemy fire by millimeters. She destroyed 3 nullifier drones in as many seconds. They are predicting our moves, she shouted over the noise. They calculate trajectories and fire where we will be, not where we are. Daewon's mind raced. Then we need to be where they do not expect. Can these fighters survive atmospheric entry? Yes, but why would we? Yura's eyes widened. The moon. There is a small moon nearby. She dove toward the rocky satellite, her squadron following. The nullifiers pursued, their formation perfect and mathematical. They expected the Velithrin to flee. They calculated intercept courses. They prepared to destroy the fleeing organics, but Yura did not flee. At the last second, she pulled up, skimming the moon's surface so close that rocks scraped their hull. Half the pursuing nullifiers could not react fast enough. They crashed into the moon at full speed, erupting in silent fireballs. Chaos, Yura laughed. They hate chaos. The remaining fighters regrouped, adapting their tactics. But now the human pilots had seen what worked. They began flying erratically, breaking formation, making suicide runs that turned into sudden retreats, attacking from impossible angles. The machines struggled to calculate responses to tactics that made no logical sense. Back on the Aegis, Admiral Kyung-soo watched the battle turn. All ships, new orders. Abandon standard military tactics. Wing commanders have full authority to improvise. Confuse the enemy. Make them doubt their calculations. The human fleet became a swarm of chaos. Ships that should have retreated charged forward. Damaged vessels rammed nullifier craft instead of pulling back. Fighter pilots pulled maneuvers that would get them court-martialed in any normal battle. And it worked. The nullifiers began making mistakes, hesitating, recalculating. Their perfect formations broke apart as they tried to adapt to enemies who refused to follow any rules. Princess Era's voice came over the radio. Sister, I understand now. The humans are magnificent. They fight with madness and courage. This is what we lost when we became civilized. More human ships arrived, responding to the distress call. Fresh fighters and warships jumped into the battle. The odds began to even. The nullifiers found themselves being pushed back by sheer unpredictability. But then something changed. The nullifier ships began retreating toward a single point. They formed a sphere around one massive vessel that had not yet entered the fight. The command ship. What are they doing? Daewon asked. Yura's face went pale. They are transmitting data. Everything they learned about us. About our tactics. About our weapons. She grabbed the radio. Admiral, that command ship must not escape. If it returns to the nullifier home space with this intelligence, they will adapt. They will return with weapons specifically designed to counter us. We will never survive a second attack. Then we destroy it, Admiral Kyung-soo said grimly. All ships concentrate fire on the command vessel. Everything we have. The combined fleet attacked with desperate fury. Human weapons and Velithrin energy beams struck the massive ship. Its shields held. It was starting to turn, preparing to jump away to safety. It is going to escape, someone shouted. Yura's hands flew across the controls. Not if I can help it. She accelerated directly toward the command ship, charging her fighter's main weapon to maximum. Ara, do you remember the Crimson Star maneuver? That is suicide. Ara protested, only if we fail. Are you with me, sister? A pause. Then always, my queen, for the empire that was. For the future that might be. 6 Velithrin fighters broke formation and followed Yura in a tight arrow formation. They dove toward the command ship, ignoring the defensive fire that tore through their shields. One fighter exploded. Then another. But the rest pressed on. What is she doing? Admiral Kyung-soo demanded. Daewon suddenly understood. She is going to overload their shields. 6 ships hitting the same point at the same time with maximum power. It will create a cascade failure. That will also destroy her ship. I know. Daewon gripped his seat. She knows too. The Velithrin fighters reached the command ship. All 6 fired simultaneously at one point on the shield. The energy discharge was blinding. The shield flickered, held, then collapsed entirely. Now, Yura screamed into the radio. Fire everything. The human fleet opened up with every weapon, missiles, lasers, railguns, mass drivers. 1,000 years of Huma 3 months had passed since the battle. 3 months of meetings and arguments and slow progress toward something that looked like peace. Daewon stood in the conference room of Earth's orbital command station, watching representatives from both species debate the details of their alliance. He was Captain Daewon now. The promotion had come with a new uniform and responsibilities he was still learning to handle. His job was to lead the Combined Task Force, a military unit that mixed human soldiers with Velithrin warriors. It was not going well. The problem was not combat ability. Both species were excellent fighters. The problem was everything else. Humans and Velithrin had different sleep cycles, different food requirements, different ideas about command structure and honor. Simple training exercises turned into cultural disasters. Just yesterday, Private Hyunwoo had offered a Velithrin warrior named Kess a sandwich during a break. The Velithrin had been insulted, thinking it was mockery because her species could not digest solid food. It took hours to resolve the misunderstanding. And that was one of the small problems. Yura entered the conference room, followed by Hana and Princess Ara. The queen looked better now. Regular access to synthetic blood had restored her strength and color. Human scientists and Velithrin bioengineers had worked together to create a substitute that did not require living donors. It was not perfect, but it kept the Velithrin alive without harming anyone. Captain Daewon, Yura greeted him formally. In public, they maintained proper military distance. But he saw the warmth in her eyes. They had been through too much together to be just colleagues. "How are your soldiers?" "Learning," Daewon replied, "slowly. We had another incident this morning." Corporal Jiwoo accidentally walked into a Velithrin meditation chamber during prayer time. "Your people were not happy," Era snorted. "Humans are loud. They stomp around like baby elephants. How do you hunt anything with all that noise?" "We do not need to be quiet," Jiwoo said, entering the room behind them. "We have guns. Very loud guns that kill things from far away." "Primitive," Ara muttered. "Effective," Jiwoo countered. "Both of you stop," Yura said tiredly. She had been saying that a lot lately. "We are allies now. Act like it." The argument ended, but the tension remained. This was the real challenge. Not fighting together. Living together. Building something that lasted beyond one battle. Admiral Kyung-soo arrived with his staff, carrying data pads and looking grim. "We have new intelligence about the nullifiers." It is not good news. The room went silent. Everyone knew this moment would come. The machines would not simply give up after one defeat. Our long-range sensors detected nullifier activity in 3 different sectors. The Admiral continued. "They are building something. Factory stations, shipyards. They are preparing for a major offensive." He activated a holographic display showing enemy positions. "Based on their construction rate, we estimate they will attack within 6 months. And they will come with 10 times the force we faced before." Princess Ara cursed in her language. "It did not need translation. Can we stop them?" Mi-sun asked. She had been promoted too, now serving as a liaison between human engineers and Velithrin scientists. "Not alone," Yura said quietly. "My people number only a few thousand. We have technology, but not enough ships or warriors. And humans are strong, but your weapons are not designed to fight machines this advanced." She looked around the room. "We need each other. Truly need each other. Not just an alliance of convenience. We need to become one military force with shared technology and shared goals. That requires complete trust," Admiral Kyung-soo said. "Are your people ready to share all your technology? Even the most secret weapons? Are yours?" Ara challenged. The room fell silent again. This was the core issue. Both species wanted the other's help but feared being betrayed. Humans remembered that the Velithrin had once taken their blood without permission. The Velithrin remembered that humans had profited from their suffering. Daewon stood. "May I speak, sir?" Admiral Kyung-soo nodded. "Go ahead, Captain. I have been training with both humans and Velithrin for 3 months now, and I've learned something important." He looked at both groups. "We are all afraid. Humans are afraid that the Velithrin will see us as food. Velithrin are afraid that humans will see them as monsters. Both sides are waiting for the other to make the first move toward real trust." "What do you suggest?" Yura asked. "A demonstration. Something that proves we can work together completely, not just in battle but in science, in daily life, in everything." He touched the holographic display. "Let us build something together. A new ship. Designed by both species, built by both species, crewed by both species. A symbol of what we can accomplish when we stop being afraid." "A joint project of that scale would take months," an engineer objected. "Then we have time before the nullifiers attack," Daewon replied. "And we will learn to work together while we build." Admiral Kyung-soo considered this. "It is risky. If the project fails, it could damage the alliance permanently." "If we do nothing, the alliance will fail anyway," Yura said. "Fear will slowly poison us. We will drift apart. And when the nullifiers return, they will destroy us separately." She looked at Daewon with something like pride. "The captain is right. We need a shared victory, something we create together, not just something we fight together." Ara grudgingly nodded. "I agree." The old Velithrin Empire was built on grand projects, cities that touched the stars, ships that could cross galaxies. We have forgotten how to build. We have only remembered how to survive. Perhaps it is time to remember who we were. Then it is decided, Admiral Kyung-soo said. We will build this ship. Human technology, Velithran technology, all of it combined. He smiled slightly. God help us all. The next 6 months were chaos. But it was productive chaos. Human engineers and Velithran scientists argued constantly about designs. Sometimes the arguments ended in breakthroughs. Sometimes they ended in shouting matches that required mediators. But slowly a design emerged. The ship was beautiful. Sleek like a Velithran vessel but sturdy like a human warship. It had energy shields powered by Velithran crystal technology. It had weapons that combined human projectile systems with Velithran energy beams. It had engines that could fold space in ways neither species had achieved alone. They called it the Dawn, because it represented a new beginning. Dae-won spent most of his time at the construction site, mediating disputes and solving problems. His task force was assigned to guard the project, which meant living alongside Velithran for months. The constant contact slowly broke down barriers. One evening, he found Jiwoo sharing synthetic blood rations with a Velithran warrior named Kess, the same Kess who had been insulted by the sandwich months ago. Now they were laughing together, comparing stories about their worst training accidents. Things are getting better, Yura said, appearing beside him as she often did. Her silent approach no longer startled him. Slowly, Dae-won agreed, but yes, better. They stood together, watching humans and Velithran working side by side on the massive ship frame. Sparks flew from welding torches. Music played from someone's radio. Laughter echoed in the construction bay. I never thought I would see this, Yura said softly. My people working with others as equals. Building something new instead of clinging to the past. She looked at him. Thank you for breaking into Sector 7 that night, for trusting me when you had no reason to trust, for showing me that not all humans are like Taimin. What happened to him? Dae-won asked. The former commander had been in military custody, awaiting trial. He was executed last week, Yura said without emotion. Military tribunal found him guilty of treason, kidnapping, conspiracy, and attempted genocide. His accomplices were arrested. His illegal weapons contracts were canceled. She paused. Justice was served. But it does not bring back the people who died. No, Dae-won agreed. It does not. But we can honor them by building something better. The ship neared completion as the 6-month deadline approached. Long-range sensors confirmed what everyone feared. The nullifiers were coming. Their fleet was massive. Hundreds of ships, all built with the lessons learned from the previous battle. They knew human and Velithran tactics now. They had adapted. The Dawn launched 2 days before the enemy arrived. Her crew was exactly half human and half Velithran. Captain Ara commanded the ship with Dae-won as her second officer. Admiral Kyung-soo had approved the unusual command structure as an experiment. The combined fleet gathered at the edge of human space. 50 human ships, 20 Velithran vessels, and one hybrid ship that represented everything both species had accomplished together. They are here, the sensor operator announced. The nullifier fleet appeared like a plague of locusts. Their ships darkened the stars. They moved in perfect formation, a mathematical precision that was terrifying to watch. All ships, battle stations, Admiral Kyung-soo commanded from his flagship. Remember the plan. Chaos and courage. Make them doubt their calculations. But this time was different. The nullifiers did not advance immediately. They analyzed the defending fleet, their sensors scanning every ship. When they reached the Dawn, they paused. They are confused, Ara said with satisfaction. They cannot classify our ship. Their database has no match. We are neither human nor Velithran. We are something new.